am Sue Webley. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. Good morning. Make sure my microphone is on. Good morning to you. Welcome to another episode of Inspire. I am your host, Sue Web entrepreneur, and I believe about so every Saturday morning and transformative conversations with guests from all walks of life, living boldly and authentically. We explore all of the topics that matter, from mental health, healing. And so, whether we are spotlighting a community leader or celebrating someone's personal triumphs, Inspire is rooted in the power of media. We are live right now on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. We are coming in to connect and subscribe. We are at Inspire with Sue W on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also head over to our website at newsletter because we don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire. If you're watching and but I'm gonna call you later. Happy birthday, my love. I love you so much, and I'm so proud to be your mommy. All right. So, what are you sipping on, Mr. Sandy? What you sipping on this morning? What you got in your cup? So, I always have coffee in my cup. It's a rare occasion that I have something else. So, I have coffee in my cup. This is decaf coffee. Let me take a sip. Let me know what you're sipping on. Tell me where you're watching from. So good this morning. Let's see. Mrs. Sandy. Yeah, let me know. Again, morning to you. Okay. Yeah, this conversation because I've been out so that your friends and family and you know out with us on Inspire. So this morning with a visible difference in the world in the media, period, right? We that often is in their body, their hair, gender expression, someone speaks and the way they move throughout the world. And sometimes before a person has had the opportunity to tell us who they are, we have them. Of us knows what that feels like or another to be looked at, fully seen, right? To have someone notice one part or tells them everything they need to know. Part of why as a black woman, as someone proudly neurospicy. I know something about moving through a world that has very narrow ideas about what is considered normal, beautiful, and professional and acceptable. Been with me for 10 years now, a little over 10 years. Appreciate, but it really changed the way that I look. So, just a traumatic time. We were very here, like I was losing my identity terms with a version of myself I had never imagined. And so today, yeah, I embrace my bald head, embrace my bald head, me show up. Phone. Can y'all hear me now? My mic keep okay. Well, you know what? We gonna change to the camera mic. Now I don't know what you heard, but it was brilliant. Let me change to my camera mic because I'm not sure what's happening. Julian, thank you so much for letting me know that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, audio's in and out. I'm not sure what's happening with my amazing microphone, but I'm not sure what the last thing that you heard. But I'm going to start with my alopecia, and hopefully it fixes the situation. Technology is not an exact science, so yeah, it is what it is. So my alopecia changed the way that I look, and losing my hair meant coming to terms with a version of myself that I had not necessarily imagined. Jillian, let me make sure that you can still hear me. Okay, so just let me know if you can still hear me. You know, if you think about this, it's live, but in the replay, all of this will be cut out. So yeah. So today I embrace my bald head. It's part of me, part of how I show up in the world. But embracing it does not mean there was never a process, right? There was absolutely a process. I had to learn how to look in the mirror and see myself differently. I had to learn that my femininity is not stored in my hair, and that beauty is not stored in my hair, and my worth is certainly not stored in my hair. India Irie is coming to me right now. I am not my hair, right? And that's a song that I listen to a lot while grieving the loss of my hair, because it was a grieving process. And so sometimes, self love is not a cute quote on Instagram. Sometimes it is having to meet yourself all over again, grieve what changed, and still be able to say, I am still me, right? I am still beautiful. I am still worthy. I had to say that to myself so many times in my journey. And then there's my neurospiciness, right? So it's only been like the last couple of years that I've been kind of out, speaking out about it, embracing it, right? And, understanding that my brain does not always move through the world in these neat straight lines, right? That the world seems to prefer. My mind, it's just different. Sometimes it moves fast, sometimes it moves slow, sometimes it takes detours. There's always 10,000 tabs open at once in my brain, not necessarily on my computer, right? But I've learned that some of the things that make certain systems challenging for me are connected to some of my greatest gifts, right? I am uber creative, right? I have the ability to see some things that others do not. I have ability to imagine things that others cannot. I have ability to kind of listen and even the way I hold conversations like the ones we have here on Inspire, I believe is directly connected to how I see the world with my neurospicy brain. So when we talk about difference this morning, then I want us to speak about it only as something to overcome, right? Sometimes the work is not becoming more acceptable to the world. Sometimes the work is learning to stop apologizing. Stop apologizing for the way we exist in it. I understand something about the difference between being visible and being seen. Those are not always the same thing. Sometimes visibility feels like freedom. Sometimes it feels like scrutiny. Sometimes showing up authentically is joyful, and sometimes it's exhausting. When the world has already decided what is beautiful, acceptable, professional, normal, or worthy, choosing to love yourself outside of those expectations becomes an act of resistance. And that's one of the places where Gillian's story meets me. And I think Gillian's story meets all of us today. Let me put her man up because I want you to see her in all of her beautifulness. Isn't she gorgeous? Listen, Julian, I neglected to ask you how to pronounce your last name. Is it Gotla? Kotler. I said no. Listen, when you come on, you're going to tell me how to pronounce your last name, okay? Because I want to get it right. So our guest is a transformational speaker, life coach, entrepreneur, and content creator. At age 12, she developed a rare condition called Parry-Romberg syndrome, which affects the skin and soft tissue on one side of the face and permanently changed her appearance. One day she was a carefree child in Botswana, and then life became doctors and questions and uncertainty and learning how to navigate a world where people responded to her differently. 12 is already an age when many of us are trying to figure out who we are, right? We're becoming aware of our bodies, noticing how others see us, and wondering whether we are pretty enough or smart enough or popular enough or good enough. Now imagine navigating all of that while your face is changing and people are staring, whispering, asking questions, and not knowing how to respond. When we tell stories about people who have overcome something, we can rush too quickly toward the inspirational part, right? We love the end of the thing. We love the triumphs. Love to applaud the resilience and say, look how strong she is. But sometimes we skip over the part where it hurts. We skip over that part too often. I don't believe that healing requires us to pretend the pain was not real. And I don't believe purpose means the wound never existed. Sometimes purpose begins when we learn to tell the truth about what happened to us and refuse to let it become the final word about who we are. Gillian has spoken about coping mechanisms, education, and deep inner healing it took for other people's reactions not to define her worth. And I was struck by how she describes curiosity and staring as a kind of social filter, a way of discovering who could see beyond her face and recognize the whole person standing before them. And so that raises a question for all of us who are watching today and who will catch this in replay, who will listen to this on the podcast and platforms. Who can really see me? Not just what I produce, what I look like, what I can do for them, or the version of me that makes them comfortable. Who can see me? And perhaps the more difficult question is, can I see myself beyond the insecurity, the rejection, the diagnosis, the lost hair, the changing body, the differently wired brain or life I thought I was supposed to have? Confident is not walking into every room convinced that everybody is going to like you. I'm going to say that again, because this was something I struggled with. Confidence is not walking into every room convinced that everybody is going to like you, because they will not. And that's okay. Confidence is knowing that even when they do not, you are still worthy. Confidence is not the absence of insecurity. It is learning that insecurity does not get to drive. It may be in the car, it may be in there with you, And some days it may even be in the passenger seat, but it does not get the keys to your vehicle. And I'm so grateful to have Gillian hanging out with us today. And she's going to tell us all about herself and the work that she does. And, before we meet her, I like to peruse people's social media pages. And there was this one clip that really spoke to me, and I'm going to use that to introduce her today. So after this, we'll be speaking with the amazing Gillian, and she gonna tell me her last name, pronounce it right. But stay with us. We're going to be speaking with Gillian right after this.
What it means to be me is that when I start speaking, you have somebody observing my facial features before they can listen to what I'm saying. And then after that, they can now listen to what I'm saying. To me also means that someone can judge that I'm incapable of many things. That's why I'm extra. That's why I'm peculiar. That's why when it comes to my job, any type of job that I do, I go above and beyond, and I don't give anybody a chance to attribute my competency to my condition. Yeah, that's being me.
Good morning, Gillian.
Hello, how are you, Sue? And how is everyone doing?
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for joining me. Please tell me how to pronounce your last name.
I am Gillian Kgotla.
Kgotla.
Yes, that's
Kgotla.
perfect.
Okay. All right. Because I'm going to go back and edit and make sure I get it right. Kgotla. Okay. Thank you so much for correcting me. It's important that I get your name, get everybody's name correct on Inspire. Thank you for that. Thank you for that clip, that video. It's so important. It's so important to kind of talk about that because people really do attribute how we look and how we show up in the world to our competency, to how competent we are in in any given task. And it reminded me of when I first embraced my alopecia, and I cut off the hair that that was still growing, and I stopped wearing a wig because I used to wear a wig. I used to work in corporate and wore a wig every day. And the day after, it was Christmas Eve. I can't remember what year it was. It had to be over 10 years ago, but it was Christmas Eve. I decided to give myself the gift of setting myself free from like wearing wigs and other people's opinions when it came to my alopecia. And I woke up after the holidays. We were getting ready to go back to work, and my first instinct was to put my wig on to go to work.
Oh,
the first instinct was to, and I was like, you just freed yourself, Sue. Like, why are you? So I walked into where it was probably one of the bravest things. I've done a few brave things in my life, but I walked into my job just with my bald head. And people automatically assumed I was sick. Like, oh, my wife has cancer too, but that was so triumphant for me, right? Because this is really who I am, and I can't hide myself anymore. If I want to wear a wig or whatever, I had, I could change. I could do that. Wigs are now an accessory and not a necessity. It was a necessity for me before, but now they're just an accessory. So, accessory. So, you'll see in the Inspire. You look. Watch any of the previous episodes. You're gonna see me with a long wig, a short wig, a one with a bob, with bangs, a head wrap. You will see me with all those things, and all of those things, all of the ways I show up are definitely a part of me. And so, thank you so much for that clip. Thank you for how you show up in the world, Gillian, because you inspire so many others to show up just as who they are, and we are so grateful for the work that you are doing. Let's see. Go ahead, let me just make sure. All right. Mr. Sandy is talking about losing her hair. Good morning, Maya. Listen, the people are coming in. Do me a favor and share this out for this amazing conversation. Before we get to our conversation, Gillian, what are you sipping on this morning?
I am just sipping on some water. It's very hot in England at the moment, and I'm trying to stay hydrated as much as I can.
Oh wow! What are the temperatures in England right now?
Ooh, today it's like a 33, which is 33 and humid, so it makes
Ooh.
it very hot.
Oh wow! Oh wow! Well, thank you for for braving the heat to be on with us this morning. I want to start a little bit before the diagnosis and the doctors and the staring. You shared that you had a beautiful childhood in Botswana before your parents began to change. Can you take us back a little bit to that time? What did life feel for you before the age of 12?
All right, such a pleasure to be here, and I am looking forward to spending time with all of you here and sharing amazing stories like stories from my childhood. So, I was born in Botswana in Africa, just near South Africa, on top of South Africa. That's where I was born. And I had the most amazing childhood and a typical childhood in rural Africa where you are free, you are with your cousins. I'm so fortunate. I've got five siblings, got both of my parents alive, and life was brilliant. And I was like a normal child, accepted in every room and in every society. And everything was just going so well until one day I
Mhm.
went to the farm over the school holidays, played so much with some mud, and I just developed a tiny ringworm right here under my left eye, and life changed, I must say. But otherwise, I had a smooth cruising until that point where I just went to the holidays, just like that. Life changed.
Mhm. Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, again, your body started to change, right? And you did in ways that you did not ask for, right? And in a way that you could not control. And so, how did those? First of all, tell us a little bit more about Parry-Romberg syndrome. Uh, what is it? How does it impact the body? How does one get diagnosed with it? I know it's a rare condition. Can you tell us a little bit more about it, and how did those early medical experiences affect your sense of yourself and your future?
Yeah, so with pyrorhombic syndrome, it's very rare. And because of its rarity, like it's out 1 out of 500,000 people. And I come from Botswana, where there are only 1.8 million people. Chances are that the doctor was seeing me for the first time and they just didn't know, genuinely had no clue what this could be. And also because there's lack of research when it comes to rare conditions, it means even as the doctors researched, they didn't have an idea. So if I take you to my story as to how did it come about, it might be different to the next person that you see that has the condition. Like every case will be different. So for me, it started with just a ringworm, and the ringworm started affecting my eye. I went to the doctor. I said, "This is what's happening." And believe me, the doctor said, "You're imagining it. This is just a ringworm. If I give you this cream, it's a fungicide, it's a antifungal cream. This will sort out your issues." And the more I tried to apply things, my skin just wasn't having it. So I went to the next doctor. At that point, I was trying to figure out answers in a room that said I was imagining things.
Mhm.
And it's such a shame that medical gaslighting exists in such a larger scale than we admit. Where you say, "I'm not well, my hair is falling off." And somebody says, "You probably have a deficiency of vitamin K or something." So That's exactly what happened for me. So with polyrhombic syndrome, you have tissues shrinking, disappearing on one side of the face. It could be the right, it could be the left. For me, it was the left side of the face. So I just had my skin shrinking, discoloration, muscles atrophying. And as time went on, we came to this. This came from a ringworm. The next person might say it came from something else, from someone else, but all of us end up with one side of the face affected, and all of us end up in a situation we didn't ask for. And all of us can say life changed just like that. And we had to swim out in a world that didn't even know where to categorize us, either disabled or not, either normal or not normal, as people would say.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. As you were speaking, it made me think about how often Black women are not
Mhm.
believed when they say that something is wrong, when they say something isn't right with their bodies. We know our bodies better than anyone outside of us can know our bodies. And so often we go to the doctor, and yeah, we've been told that we're imagining things. We've been told that it's not as serious as we think it is. We've been
Yeah.
told, stop looking at what's it something MD on on the internet. Stop doing that research. And more often than not, our instincts were right about our bodies, right? That this isn't something normal. That it's something that needs to be. It's not just a ringworm,
Mm.
right? It's something deeper. And so, uh, this made me think about how that affects Black women in this country, and now I'm realizing it affects Black women all over.
Everywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
hon-
yeah.
yeah, honestly, I never thought deep about it until I started to read, because I was in Africa, I was in Botswana, where all of us are Black. So I never looked at it that way until I was older and I was now living in England. So I always say, with everything that happened in my story, I always feel so much empathy for my parents, because when a mother says, I know there's something wrong with my child, and somebody says you are imagining it, I always tell people now that I wish somebody had said this to my mother, that you need to push more, speak out more, because your instincts are right. And your instincts are always right. Either it's something that looks small or something that doesn't sound serious. You should never allow anybody to diminish your experience or just diminish the weight of your symptoms, because you are the only person who's going to carry those symptoms from the doctor's office back home again. So, with me, as I entered the doctor's office every time, it was either it's nothing, it will sort itself out, kind of, this is just a ringworm. This is an eye infection. If we give you eye drops, it will be fine. Or let me refer you. And then I have a crisis now. Are you saying you are referring me 2 years later to be seen by a doctor? So later on in life, I get to now live in a white dominated country in England. And I get to see that even during childbirth, Black women are a bit neglected. People are a bit afraid of speaking in the doctor's office because they don't want to even be considered as difficult patients. When somebody just diminishes the weight of your symptoms and just say, don't, it's not something to really worry about. I then noticed the pattern that it's always us Black women who don't want to be troublesome patients. We just want to be patients that are understanding, that listen to the doctor. And I want to tell you, girl, you should speak out. You should speak out, because somebody got to break the pattern of medical gaslighting. Somebody has to break the pattern and it has to be you. Eventually, the word will spread, and doctors all over the world will know that you don't play with a Black woman.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that. So you, as you began living with this, your facial difference, right? It forced you to kind of find some coping mechanisms and educate yourself. So what would you say were some of the first tools or practices that helped you begin to cope with with the staring and the hurtful comments?
Thank you for that question. I get that question a lot. And as I answer this question, I want to answer it not in a way that diminishes the pain and the experience I've had. Most people say, I'm so confident. Most people say, you are so confident. We don't really imagine you shrinking. But let me tell you, we went through a rigorous process to get here. The first thing is that when I knew that I looked different, when I had people staring at me and the community trying to reject me, I knew life was never going to be the same. And I also understood that growing up in in Africa, in a small country like Botswana, I sneeze, I lose. If I'm not careful about this, life is not going to wait for me. So the first thing I did, I started writing my feelings down. If something hurt me that day, somebody tried to bully me, I'll come home and I'll write it down. That today I was walking down the corridor and somebody pointed me at me and laughed at me, and this made me feel really sad. And I was 12 years old then. I didn't understand it, what I was doing. But now I even encourage all my clients that you can't acknowledge it until you have written it down. You haven't acknowledged it until you've written it down. So writing became a big part of my life. Writing became a savior to me. I was able to offload because nobody understood what was going on with me. I mean, I think you can relate to this. Even as you were losing your hair,
Mhm.
the amount of emotions that you're feeling, sometimes the next person is not able to feel the weight of your emotions. They'll just be like, Sue, just wear a wig, girl. Nobody's going to know what's going on underneath. Just wear a wig and just get over it.
Mhm.
That doesn't help. So I started writing, and the more I wrote, the more I became liberated.
Mm.
The next thing that I did, I'm a woman of faith. I had faith in God that tomorrow will be better. I also had so much faith in the love of God. I had so much faith that I was brought here for a reason.
Mhm.
And if my condition affects only me in Botswana, that means that these people, these doctors, as much as it feels like they are not listening to me, there's a possibility that they don't know. That was me also trying to manage my expectations that I might never get help. But I started counting my blessings that I'm here for a reason. There must be something for me out there.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm a mistake. I don't think the entire totality of my existence is a mistake. I started thinking like that. I still think like that now. And I still write even now. And the other thing that I did is that I understood that life was never going to be the same. Therefore, me walking in to get an opportunity, if there's two of us, possibilities are that that person is going to be chosen and I might not be chosen because of how I look.
Mhm.
I started to accept that fact, but also I said, if I'm so good at what I do, if I'm extraordinary, you cannot argue with my results, you cannot argue with my intelligence, you cannot argue with the fact that I'm qualified to stick around here. So that was going to improve my chances out in the world. It was going to help me stand out some way, somehow. And that's some of the ways that I decided to deal with it. And the other thing that I can mention as well is that I fought so hard that the society around me doesn't diminish my existence as relevant. I had to fight as young as I was so that nobody expects me to hide. That means I put myself in spaces where somebody would not expect to see me. I put myself out there. If there was a competition at school, I did it. If there was a position to be applied for at school, I did it. Because I understood that the more I hide, my light is going to go dim and dim and dim, and I'm just going to fade into the background. And I felt like that's not why I'm here, you know? So that's some of the ways that I coped, really.
Thank you for sharing that. I also want to give a shout out to your audience who's watching you on Facebook on your end. So, hello, Facebook audience. Thank you all for joining us in this conversation this morning. I see more of you coming in. Hey, Chuck, thank you for joining us. Yeah, listen, we are having an amazing conversation, and I'm glad about it. So, you mentioned confidence, Gillian, and you talk about being confident and eloquent and well put together, and how visible your difference became like a filter for building more supportive network. And so for someone who is listening right now, who's watching right now, will listen to hear this in the replay, and who looks in the mirror and only sees what they don't like, what are some of the core principles that you return to again and again when you're teaching confidence?
That's a very wonderful question. So, I believe in the neutrality framework. This is a framework that I teach in my coaching practice. I believe that the gap between self-hate and self-love, it's too wide. I don't care what anybody tells you that it's possible just to love yourself. It's not. There's a wide gap from hating yourself to admiring yourself. So I believe in studying at a point of neutrality. What do I mean? I mean studying at a point where you acknowledge that I'm Gillian. I have this face, it's mine, it's not going anywhere. And secondly, because I have this face, it's not going anywhere. I'm a human being. I deserve kindness. I deserve dignity. I don't want people to be rude towards me, right? Now I'm going to lead with an example. I'm going to step up and lead myself with kindness. Not only lead myself with kindness, but lead myself with so much dignity and grace. Because the life I have here, it's not easy. It's not ordinary. The bar is high for me. So studying at a point of neutrality means acknowledging yourself as human and a human being that deserves kindness. Now, that's something that you can do today, but you can't wake up just today and say you love yourself. You being kind to yourself, I mean, talking to yourself in a way that you talk to a child. My principle that I adopted back then was I'd ask myself, can I say this to a child? If I can't say it to a child, I can say it to myself.
Wow.
And kindness became the order of the day. I treated myself with kindness. If I looked at myself and I'm gaining weight, just as I've gained weight now, I don't call myself fat and ugly because I wouldn't call a child fat and ugly. I decide to correct it in a better way. Now, the next step from you looking at yourself in the mirror and hating you to you looking at yourself in the mirror and giving yourself grace The next step is not you loving yourself magically. It doesn't work like that. The next step that works in a cognitive reframing setup, you are doing this step by step, is that as you become kind to yourself, as you become lenient and graceful, and as you begin to acknowledge that you're doing the best that you can, the brain works in a beautiful, marvelous manner. Because of the science of neuroplasticity, your brain expands and accommodates some things. The minute your brain accommodates that kindness is the order of the day, and your brain accommodates that I'm a human being worthy of dignity, and this is my face. I cannot exist without a face.
Yeah.
I cannot exist without eyes. This head doesn't have hair, but it's mine. It carries my brain. The minute you are there, the brain starts to accept it as reality. Therefore, the next step becomes self acceptance.
Yeah.
Self acceptance now means you don't cringe at the image of you when you look at yourself in the mirror. You don't cringe, you don't call yourself ugly, you don't look away. You now start developing what I call it's a life beyond the mirror. It's a life where you allow yourself to live beyond what you see, beyond what you hate.
Yeah.
And as time goes on, the more you are kind, the more you are in that self acceptance state, I can promise you, by default, you are going to fall in love with who you are. And when you look at yourself in the mirror, you absolutely adore that bald head, you adore that slightly bigger nose, and you adore that body, and you appreciate that body every day.
Yeah.
So I believe so much in that framework because that's what I did. I started with being kind with myself. I then accepted that this is me. I cannot exist without a face. Is this face beautiful according to other people's standards? That say no, but it's mine. It serves my purpose. And from there, I became this person who is self obsessed, who adores themselves.
Wow. This is so rich. Thank you for sharing all of that. And even beyond like a diagnosis, it's so important for many of us, because many of us struggle with that, struggle with what we see in the mirror, struggle with taking that journey from self-hate to self-love, right? A lot of that comes from maybe how we were raised, right? The circumstances of our lived experience, our upbringing, and yeah. So hearing it helps me. It helps me at my big age. It helps me, to love myself a little bit more, to give myself a little more grace, right? Grace and kindness, it goes a long way. And I think sometimes we have to start giving ourselves what we so freely give to others, right? We we are kind, we're forgiving, we bestow grace, and we don't do that for ourselves, right? And it's
Exactly.
so important. We have to start with us first, right? We have to start with us first. So thank you for sharing all of that. We're going to take a really quick break for you to take a drink of water, for me to do some housekeeping. And when we come back, we want to talk about the Prevail group, the group that the coaching group that you started. And if you have a question for Gillian, please post it in the chat. Make sure you put a question in front of it. And before we end our time together, we will make sure that Gillian has the opportunity to respond to your question. So we'll be right back with more conversation after this quick break. Hey, everyone. Thank you again for joining us today. I want to invite you to connect, follow, like, and subscribe. We are at Inspire with Sue W on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and on TikTok. Please do us a great big favor and give us a follow if you are not following us already. Also, you can head over to our website at www.getinspire.live. You can find out all about the show, watch all of our previous episodes, and subscribe to our newsletter because we don't want you to miss anything that's happening with Inspire. Are you or someone you know on a mission to create change while inspiring others to do the same? Well, we want to hear from you. I want to sit across from you in this virtual space on a future episode of Inspire. Visit us at www.getinspired.live to book your appearance today. You can head over to our website, click on Be Our Guest, fill out that guest intake, and a member of our team will get back in touch with you. I can't wait to welcome you to a future episode of Inspire. Camera Solutions, helping you navigate the digital space with confidence. If you know me long enough, you know this is my baby. This is the one that started it all. Kara did turn 6 this year. We are so grateful for your support, and so many of you have told others about us, and we've been able to partner with so many wonderful organizations, individuals, in ministries just by word of mouth. So thank you again. Kara Solutions is a full-service digital agency specializing in helping our clients achieve their goals through consultation and training, content and social media management, graphic and web design, and live stream and podcast production. If you want to learn more, we invite you to schedule a consultation today by visiting our website at www.kara-solutions.com or email us at info@kara-solutions.com. So as always, you know that we are going to do this each and every Saturday. Our sibling and community needs a kidney donor, and I believe that we can do it. Yanni is in search of potential donors who are fairly healthy, have the blood types A or O, the courage to commit to surgery and save her life, and she would love to share the safety measures with you. Alternatively, if you know of a resource, if you know of an organization, somewhere that Yanni could get connected to help make this happen for her, please send that information to us and we'll be sure to get it to her. To contact Yanni and her family directly, you can do so at peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. That's peacepeopleinc@gmail.com. And you can head over to EmeryLivingDonor.org, fill out the survey, and enter her name, Ayana Davis. I believe that we can do this together. All right, it's time to get back to some wonderful conversation with today's guest. We are back. Welcome back, everyone. We are speaking with the amazing Gillian Kgotla. Did I get that right, Gillian?
Oh yeah, that's perfect.
And we are having such an amazing conversation so far. And again, Gillian, I'm just so honored that you hanging out with us on Inspire this morning. So let's talk about your group, the group that you created to support people through their transitions and grief and loss. What can you tell us a little bit about the organization and what kinds of stories or situations that you're hearing from your clients?
Wonderful. So one thing that I craved the most as I was going through everything was community. I craved having somebody that knew exactly what I felt. When I say somebody was mean to me, I craved that. So I came up with a community. And in the community, you have what I'd call cases that are, you'd call them light. Somebody saying, I grew up as a child with big ears and I never fit in. You have those, and you have the extreme end of like a family member, like a group member who has tried to have Botox, dermal fillers, and everything went wrong, and their lives changed just like that. So in our community, we have those type of people. And also it's a beautiful community because you have people honestly saying, today I'm tired.
Mm.
And that's very important for the platform, because most people will just say, be strong, be strong, be strong. It doesn't work like that. Nobody is strong 365 days of the year. On other days, you need to come tired and have somebody just to say, I'm tired. And that person knows exactly what you mean. And the other beautiful thing that we do, we're going to introduce this very soon. So, when I was growing up, another beautiful story to add to all this, I had a friend who was just suddenly diagnosed with brain cancer. And the parents and the family moved to a faraway town. And in that faraway town, we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have the internet. Like I said, I was in another part of the world and it was in the past. So we wrote letters to each other. We would catch up every month. I'd look forward to just seeing that letter. The postman was my favorite person to see what my friend has been up to. And I had somebody to write to tell that I went to the doctor. This is what they said. I had a blood test, and it was so uplifting. And in honor of my friend, she passed away when she was 26, about 6 years ago. In honor of my friend, I'm going to start that service with women in our community as well, so that we exchange handwritten letters. I think that's powerful, much more than you sending me a message, because there is something tangible that you can go back to, that you can see, you know. So those are some of the things that we do in our community. It's more about not feeling alone, because I felt alone. Would you believe me, Sue, if I told you that, and everyone watching, that for 18 years, I never saw anybody with my condition,
Wow.
or I never had a doctor say, I've seen this before. For 18 years, from when I was 12, and then just 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 2024 or 2023, I was here in England scrolling on TikTok, and I just saw this guy. For the first time, I saw somebody that looked like me. And we had a long conversation about how it felt, how it was growing up. And because he's younger than me, he was creating little videos on TikTok, but he was still very shy. He's from Texas in America. It was such a relief. It was such a beautiful experience. It was like closure that I'm not a weirdo. I There's somebody that looks like me. So that's like the backbone of our community as well. For somebody to feel that they are not alone, you know.
Yeah. What made you? What inspired you rather to begin coaching and to begin helping others navigate through their journeys?
Yeah. So this is so funny. I was just talking about it with my husband this morning, that I never imagined this. So if I take you briefly in my education history, so remember, I wanted to be so good in everything that I do, such that you cannot dismiss me. And my father used to say, if you can get educated, you'd be one step ahead. And I held on to that, because one of the things that happened is that my father went through all his wealth that he gathered all his precious life to try to get me help, to try to get me medical help, get a second opinion, get a third opinion. And when I saw my father, who is an African man, selling all his cattle, all his cows, all his goats, and only 6 animals were left. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to work hard, make sure that this sacrifice is worth it. Because the weight of the sacrifice was greater. And you can imagine that weight on a child. So I went to uni and I studied biology and chemistry, qualified as a scientist. From there, I just thought I didn't like it. So I went to get a degree in finance and I worked in a stock market broker. I worked in a forex broker. I worked in that fintech, finance technology for a long time. I had a beautiful success. At the height of my career, I was a country director in Botswana. But I still felt empty, Sue. I still felt I wasn't doing what I'm supposed to do. As much as I was respected, I walked in rooms that would have rejected me back then, and I commanded the room. But I did my job well as a country director, but I felt like there was a greater calling out there for me. So one day I put my tools down and I started talking to people online. And the more I talked to people online, the more I realized that my life was extraordinary. For me to experience this at 12, go through all the hurdles, the rejection, the pain, the bullying, and live beyond it, for me to get into corporate space and ace it and command the respect and force everybody who would reject me to respect me because I pay their check, for me to just do that and me to be here, I think another somebody on another side of the world or a younger girl needs to see me talking about it, needs to see me sharing it online. They need to see me winning so that they can believe. Because when you have never seen anybody in your situation do it, you will never know that it's possible. So that's just the story of what pushed me into coaching. I asked myself what would have happened if I was a young girl and I saw a version of me now. How encouraged was I going to be, you know?
Mhm. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. That's so important. Always believe that transparency saves lives. And so when we are fully ourselves, when we're open about who we are, other people see that, right? I'll also often say, yes, we overcome by the word of our testimonies, but so do other people.
Yeah.
Other people overcome by the word of our testimonies, right? By us sharing our stories and being that fully transparent self. So thank you for being open and transparent and vulnerable, because it is when we're open like that, it is a vulnerable place to be in,
Yeah.
when because you're basically standing naked before the world, right? um but it's so necessary, for, like you said, for someone else to see that, you know what, if she's doing it, if they're doing it, then there's hope for me, right? I can do it too. All hope is not lost. This, I can see now what's possible. I couldn't see what was possible before, but I can see now what's possible because you did a TikTok, because you did a video, because you had a webinar, right? And I could
Yeah.
see all of that possibility. So thank you for that. I want to talk a little bit about, we've shared how you shared how other people have perceived you. You know, they look at you before they hear you, right? What is something that you want to say to those people, right? To the people who may meet someone that that looks like you, may meet someone that's different, right? Meet someone else that doesn't fit in. What do you want to say to those people, and how they should treat someone that's different than them?
Firstly, I'd like to highlight that when sickness or change or disability comes knocking, it's like sometimes it's like a lottery ticket. Anybody could win a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Nobody stands there and say, I mean, it's so random. That's life. Life is so random. And when you see somebody that has been affected by something, when you see somebody that has been disabled, I think it's also important to just for a minute, close your eyes and appreciate life itself.
Mm.
And you appreciating life itself, it means respecting life itself. And if you respect life itself, there is no way you can look down upon somebody who has a disability or facial difference,
Yeah.
because it could be anyone, darling.
Yes.
And the video that you shared at the beginning, can you believe that was like 2 years ago? That
Wow.
was like one of the first videos I shared on social media.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a video I shared that many people will just assume that somebody's not capable of living a normal life
Hmm.
because they have a facial difference or a disability. But like I say, always think about it that it could be anyone. And if you were in that person's shoes, how would you want people to treat you?
Hmm.
For example, I always tell people that I don't like people feeling sorry for us, because it's another way of saying your situation is so worse that I can never survive in that. So I'm sorry. We don't like those type of comments because we are doing the best that we can. So when
Yes.
you see somebody like that out in public, it's important to understand that it took a lot for them to adjust to a life of living indoors to going outside. It also took a lot and it's effort. So you should imagine it as yourself and say, how would I want to be treated?
Mm.
With kindness and with dignity.
Yeah. 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 Jillian, when you look ahead, what do you hope people remember most about your work? Not just your story, right? But the impact you want to have on how we treat people with visible differences.
Wow, that's such a rich question, Sue. It's such a rich question. Honestly, I want to be remembered for possibilities.
Mm.
I'm this person, I was saying this yesterday, and I had a deep conversation about it yesterday, that I'm this person who believes in infinite possibilities. Either you are disabled or you are not, either you have a challenge or you don't. Life comes for all of us. And I'd love to be remembered as that girl who spoke of infinite possibilities. And I speak a lot about a concept called life beyond the mirror. The reason
Mm.
why I want to be remembered for that concept of life beyond the mirror, it's because it's a life of infinite possibilities. It's a life where the mirror doesn't dictate to your worth or to who you are. The mirror is just a glass that you are using to get ready. It's not a
Mhm.
ruler of your life. It's not your king. It's not your judge. It's not your abuser. I'd love to be remembered that I defined the mirror that way, that we don't get ruled by the mirror. We live in a world of infinite possibilities. And
Yeah.
I recently started, a few months ago, I started a YouTube channel, not just for speaking engagements, but just for answering questions and also just sharing vlogs and all that. The reason why I did that is because I wanted to model life beyond the mirror so that people who look at me as their mentor and as an inspiration, they can see what I mean when I say life beyond the mirror. They can see that when I go swimming, I will wear my swimsuit. My scars are there. Either people see them or they don't. They are mine. It's my body.
Yeah.
And I believe as people see that, they see that this is a life of infinite possibilities. As I build some of my businesses in public, I want people in our community and just normal people, other normal people, as people would say, to see that this is a life of infinite possibilities. Anybody can aim for the stars without having the mirror judging them.
Yeah. 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 Thank you so much for sharing that. If you could speak directly to your 12-year-old self, just as your parents started to change, what would you say to her now?
Wow, that's such a sweet question. The reason why I'm pausing and smiling is because when I think about her, my 12-year-old self, I'm filled with so much compassion, but so much admiration at the same time for the little fighter that I was. And if I could say anything to her, is I would tell her that she is worthy. She doesn't have to do anything to be worthy. You don't qualify for worthiness. You are born worthy, meaning that you are born enough just as you are. I don't have to be a certain weight to be worthy. I don't. She doesn't even have to look a certain way. She doesn't even have to have an asymmetrical face to be worthy or perfect teeth.
Yeah.
She is
Uh-oh. I think we probably lost you. You are frozen. Hello. Okay.
worthy
Listen,
just
Gillian, can you still hear?
as
Uh-oh. We're gonna have to have you say that all over again because I knew that. I know it was brilliant. I don't know if you can hear me. Um, yeah, we're having some tech difficulties. Like you've gone blank off screen, but now we can't hear you. Let me see if she'll as we fix this because I really um want you all to hear her closing statement. I'll see if she can hear me. I'm gonna tell her to jump out and jump back in because I really, really want you all. Yep, she's gonna jump out. We should come back in. I really want you to hear what Jillian has to say. And while we're waiting for her, I want to hear some of your stories, right? I've shared mine about my alopecia and my neurospiciness and um, not feeling throughout my whole life like I fit in. I never felt that I fit in. I never felt that I was, um, you know, the maybe the popular one or the one like someone would choose. Like I always felt different from everyone else, and it took forever for me to get to a point, and still today, right? I'm not gonna say like I'm over it. Still today, there are moments where I still don't feel like I fit in, and still wondering, still being plagued is not the word, but being concerned about how I look and how I show up. And it is something. It is a lifelong. It's a lifelong battle. It's a lifelong journey. So, if you want to share some of your stories today, feel free. I see Jillian trying to come back in. So, Jillian, if you can hear me, you have to connect. Yeah, see if you can connect your mic. If not, you could dial in on your phone because I really want the people to hear this. So even if we have to kind of record it after, I still think it's important that folk hear what you have to say. But yeah, go ahead and share your stories in the chat. Um, if you want to share, right? We want to share, we want to talk about uh, your differences. I think we all have something that we're kind of self conscious about. And if you're not self conscious about it, tell me how you got over it. Go ahead and throw that in the chat. Let's see if you're still here with us. Dr. Danny Dubois Matthews. Hey, my sibling. Thank you for joining us today. I'm glad that you're hanging out with us today. All right. It may not be able to get Jillian back, but I really do want everyone to hear what she has to say. So I'll see if we can record that final portion of our interview, and I will share that out so that all of you get a chance to hear Jillian's wisdom as we close out today. Thank you all for joining us, for hanging out with us. If today's episode spoke to you, if you've ever struggled with self image, there you are. Listen, I was about to
Hello.
call Julian.
Oh, I don't know what happened here, but something happened. I even thought maybe my cats tripped over the router or something.
Listen, I was about to close. I was waiting. I was about to close. I said maybe we can record that last part because it's so important to me that folk hear what you would say to your 12-year-old self as
All right.
we have to close out. Yeah.
Is my audio okay?
Yes,
Can
it's
you?
perfect now. Yes.
Oh, I'm just using my phone now.
Mhm. Yep. So yeah. So if I don't know how much because as soon as you started talking, like the audio started going out
Oh,
and the camera went off and I was like, we couldn't hear you. So can you repeat some of what you would tell your 12-year-old self?
yeah. So what I was saying is, my 12-year-old self. When I think about her, I'm filled with so much compassion and so much admiration for how brave I was. But at the same time, I wish somebody had told me this, that I was born worthy,
Mm.
that I didn't have to do anything worthy. Ooh, just when I close the blinds, the heat is now. Yeah. So I wish somebody had told me that I was born worthy. I don't have to do anything to qualify for worthiness.
Mhm.
And if I could just say this to her, that you don't have to do anything, you don't have to stretch your back, you don't have to try to fit in anywhere, you don't qualify for worthiness because you are born worthy. And also, because you're born worthy, I would tell her that you're born worthy, therefore you are enough just as you are. You don't need to do anything. You are just enough as you are. Yeah.
Yeah. Julia, thank you so much it was important to me that folk heard that last piece. Thank you for sharing your story and your heart with us today. And, I believe that your courage in naming throughout our conversation, uh, naming that place of real hurt, right? And the purpose that came out of your journey with periwindum syndrome. Um, and I know that will stay with so many of us long after this conversation, and so it's going to stay with us. Please tell the people where to find you, Julian.
All right, you can find me on Instagram. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. I'm also on YouTube. You can head over there. Please subscribe. I just started this YouTube. So I'm on Instagram. I'm Gillian Kgotla. That's the name across all platforms. And yeah, I post uplifting content, a combination of just me living beyond the mirror. And if you have any questions as well, just DM me on Instagram, say hi, pop up your question, and I can always attend to your question in the form of a long YouTube video. I love doing that.
I can attest to the fact that Jillian will respond to you if you inbox her on Instagram because that's how we connected. So yes, if you do ask Jillian a question, if you inbox her, she will respond. Thank you again, Jillian. All of you who have hung out with us today, thank you again for joining us. If this episode spoke to you, especially if you've ever struggled, right, with self-image, felt too different, because I was talking about my, how I felt different and not never fitting in, right? To be seen, needed a reminder today that confidence is something that you can build from the inside out, right? I want to invite you to keep reflecting on what you heard Jillian say, the wisdom that Jillian gave to us today. You can catch this replay and catch previous episodes on our website at GetInspired.live, and you can certainly listen to it later on Inspired with Sue Webley on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Just search for Inspired with Sue Webley, and please subscribe to that. Please subscribe to our podcasting pages because we want to know that you're following us, right? And also share, even though we're ending today, share this episode out. Share with your friends and family. Share with someone who needs this and would appreciate this conversation. Until next time, I want you to stay lifted. I want you to stay motivated, but most of all, I want you to stay inspired. I'll see you next week. Thanks again, Jillian.
Bye. Thank you.